Your syllabus can't predict every problem, and the sooner you stop trying to make it do that, the more useful it becomes. Today, I want to show you what a syllabus is actually for and how to write one that builds classroom culture instead of just covering your bases. Welcome to the Secondary Teacher Podcast, the podcast for middle and high school teachers juggling multiple preps to get the strategies to reduce overwhelm so that you don't have to choose between being an effective teacher and prioritizing important relationships. I'm your host, Khristen Massic, a 10-year high school engineering teacher, former middle school assistant principal, and teacher coach. Every week, we will discuss strategies, systems, and time-saving tips to help you not only survive but thrive as a multiple prep teacher. We've spent the last few episodes talking about the first week of school, what students need to experience, how to build discussion routines, and how to learn about students as learners rather than just as people. Today, we're talking about something almost every teacher has to do before school starts. The syllabus, or the disclosure document, or the course outline, whatever your district calls it. And I want to challenge something about how most of us approach it. When I was teaching, every year we were required to turn in a disclosure document. And every summer, I'd update it, tweak the wording, add another clarification, change a policy that hadn't worked quite right the year before, try to make sure every possible scenario was accounted for before I'd even met the students who would walk through my door. I wanted to make sure everything was covered, and then I almost never looked at it again. If a student had a question, we talked about it. If a parent had a concern, they emailed me. If something unexpected came up, we worked through it together. The document sat there, technically complete, rarely referenced. And then my own kids started secondary school. And I'll be honest with you, I don't sit down and read every syllabus cover to cover either. Not because I don't care about my kids' education, but because every teacher has one. Every class has different expectations. Life gets busy, and if I ever have a question, my first instinct isn't to pull out the disclosure document. It's to reach out to the teacher. Saying that out loud feels a little uncomfortable because I spent years carefully crafting those documents, but I think it's important to name because if I, as a former teacher who knows exactly why those documents exist, am not reading them as a parent, I think we need to be honest about what a syllabus can and can't actually do. I think we sometimes expect our syllabus to do too much. We expect one document to answer every future question, to anticipate every possible situation, to prevent every misunderstanding before it happens, and I just don't think that's realistic. Instead, I think a syllabus has 3 simple jobs. 1, help students understand what this class is about. 2, communicate the expectations they'll experience in your classroom. 3, show them where they'll find support when they need it. That's it. When we expect a syllabus to do everything else, we end up writing documents that are long, overwhelming, and honestly, rarely revisited by anyone. Here's something I've come to believe after years in the classroom and now working alongside teachers. Students don't learn your classroom expectations by reading them. They learn them by experiencing them. They learn how discussions work because you run them the same way every time. They learn what to do when they're absent because there's a routine that answers that question without them having to ask. They learn how to get help because you've built a system that makes it easy to ask. None of that is on page 3 of a disclosure document. It's in the routines students experience every single day. That's what creates consistency. And consistency is one of the foundations of classroom culture. One of the biggest shifts I made was realizing I didn't want my syllabus to lock me into decisions I'd made in July, before I'd met my students, before I knew what they needed, before I knew which routines would actually work. So I started thinking of my syllabus as a living document. And I'd actually say that to students and families, something like, this is a living document. Some things may change as we figure out what works best together. And that's not a weakness. That's a teacher who trusts their own judgment more than they trust a policy they wrote before the school year started. Now, there are some district requirements and school policies you need to include. That's real. And if you're teaching a lab-based class with safety requirements, those procedures often need a separate documentation or demonstrated student proficiency before anyone touches equipment. That piece matters and shouldn't be glossed over. But outside of those required elements, you have more flexibility than you might think. And giving yourself permission to improve as the year unfolds, that's not a loophole. That's what great teachers do. When students leave your classroom after the first week, I don't think they need to remember every grading percentage or every late word policy. What I hope they leave knowing is this: I know what this class is about. I know what's expected of me. I know how to be successful here. I know how to get the help if I need it. And I know my teacher wants me to succeed. That's what reduces first week anxiety. And that's what builds early trust. And ultimately, that's what builds classroom culture, not the document. The experience of being in the room. As you're looking over your syllabus before school starts, ask yourself one question. Does this document explain what students need to know, or does it try to predict every possible problem? If it's a second one, see if there's anything you can simplify, because the clearest expectations in your classroom probably aren't found in a document anyway. They're found in the routines that students experience every single day. Next episode, we're staying in the first week of school, but shifting from documents and surveys to something students experience every single day from the very first bell. Your classroom routines, specifically how the routines you build in week 1 set the tone for everything that comes after, and why the first 2 weeks might be the highest leverage planning investment you make all year. If you're realizing your classroom systems matter just as much as your lesson plans, then check out the Secondary Teacher Systems Toolkit in the show notes. It includes 9 ready-to-use resources designed to help you build the kind of classroom culture that supports learning from day one, including the Routines and Procedures Planner, the Way I Learn Reflection, the Think, Write, Pair, Show discussion prompts, and the community building activity we talked about in episode 354. Because students learn expectations by experiencing them, not by reading them. Link is in the show notes. Before you go, one question. If a student never read your syllabus, what would they learn about your classroom simply by being in it for 1 week? Because your routines, your communication, your consistency, those are all the things that teach students what kind of classroom they're walking into. Finish something that makes tomorrow lighter. I'll see you next time.